When you picture Berlin, you might picture the Brandenburg Gate or the TV tower. But there's another landmark with this incredible golden dome that tells one of the city's most powerful stories. We're talking about the New Synagogue, and its journey is just unbelievable.
I mean, just look at that dome. It absolutely glows on the Berlin skyline. But here's the thing that'll stop you in your tracks. That dome, it's attached to a building that is mostly gone. It's like this beautiful, brilliant ghost of what once stood there. And that is the mystery we're diving into today.
So to really get what was lost, we have to go back to the very beginning, to its glorious creation. Because the New Synagogue wasn't just another building, oh no. It was a massive, confident statement from a community that was absolutely thriving in the heart of German society.
And when I say massive, I mean it. The main hall could seat 3,200 people. That's huge. It made it the biggest synagogue in all of Germany. This wasn't some quiet little prayer house tucked away on a side street. This was a grand, public declaration of presence and importance.
And the look of this place, wow. The architects, Knobloch and Stühler, they didn't go for a typical German design. They chose this stunning, eye-catching Moorish style, taking inspiration from the famous Alhambra Palace in Spain. It was exotic, it was bold, and when it opened its doors in 1866, it was an instant icon. You couldn't ignore it.
And right there, above the main entrance, this inscription just says it all. It was this bold, public invitation. You know, older synagogues were often built hidden away in courtyards for safety, but this one, it opened right onto a major street. It was a symbol of a new era of openness and integration. But all of that hope, that sense of belonging and promise, it was about to collide with an unimaginable wave of pure hatred. The very thing that made the synagogue a symbol of community was about to make it a prime target. And this is how it all fell apart. It wasn't one single event. It was a slow, brutal process. It starts on Kristallnacht, November 9th, 1938. Mobs break in, they burn sacred scrolls, and they set the building itself on fire. Then, by 1940, the German army takes over the main hall to store uniforms. 2 years later, the last of the Jewish community is forced out of the office spaces. And the final blow comes in 1943, when Allied bombs cause just devastating damage. It was a systematic erasure. But in the middle of that first night of horror, something truly incredible happened. An act of defiance from one man, a local police chief named Wilhelm Creutzfeldt. His story is this totally unexpected, crucial reason the building survived at all. Can you just picture it? He stands up to this violent Nazi mob and, on his own authority, declares the synagogue a protected historical monument. He literally drew his pistol, held his ground, and demanded the fire department be allowed in to put out the flames. His actions that night single-handedly saved the structure from being completely destroyed. So Wilhelm Creutzfeldt's bravery saved the building from the mob, but its ordeal was far, far from over. The war bombings left it a shattered ruin. And in the decades that followed under East German rule, it was just neglected, left to crumble from a ruin into little more than rubble. And this is where the scale of the loss really, really hits you. Just try to imagine it, a grand hall soaring 27 meters high, filled with light and music and thousands of people. And now, look, it's an empty space open to the sky. The stones on the ground trace the outline of a ghost, marking where that immense hall once stood. The absence itself is just overwhelming. And then, as if it hadn't been through enough, the final blow came in 1958. Instead of trying to preserve what was left, the East German government decided to demolish the rest of the main prayer hall. All they left standing was the front part, the facade, a beautiful but totally hollowed-out shell. But, and this is the incredible part, the story does not end there in the rubble. Out of that profound destruction, something new began to grow. A rebirth that gave the site a new name and a vital new mission, the Centrum Judaicum. So how did it happen? Well, it was a long road. In 1988, pointedly on the 50th anniversary of that night of terror, a foundation was created to rebuild. Then, the Berlin Wall fell just a year later, and that gave the project this unstoppable momentum. And finally, in 1995, the restored facade and that golden dome reopened to the public. So what exactly is the Centrum Judaicum?
Well, here's the crucial part. They decided not to rebuild the old synagogue exactly as it was. Instead, they transformed it into a living institution. It's now a place for meeting, for remembering, for learning. It's a museum, an archive, and a cultural center, all dedicated to the rich, complicated story of Jewish life in Berlin.
And don't think for a second this is some quiet, dusty museum. No way. This place is humming with life. A small congregation actually holds services here. The main exhibition, which they perfectly named Open Ye the Gates, tells the building's own incredible story. It hosts powerful concerts and events, and it's a super important hub for researchers. It's a place of active memory.
And that brings us to right now. Because the story today is one of amazing revival and resilience for sure. But it's also marked by this stark, unavoidable tension, a tension you can see with your own eyes, between being open and needing to be secure. And that's the great paradox, isn't it? The very building that was created to shout, "We belong here, we are open," has now, out of necessity, become something of a fortress. It's both a celebrated landmark and a heavily guarded one. I mean, just look at what surrounds it today. Big concrete bollards, reinforced guardrails, security cameras everywhere, and armed police officers on guard constantly. These aren't just details. They're a very visible reminder that the revival of Jewish life in Germany, and really across Europe, is still a fragile thing that has to be protected. So ultimately, the new synagogue leaves us with this big question. It's not just a building, it's proof of a glorious past, a horrific tragedy, and a resilient but very fragile present. And its story really forces us to ask, how do we even begin to remember a history that is both so wonderful and so terrible at the same time? And what does it really take to protect that memory for the future?